We've been saying that history repeats. This shows it. Today's February 19th, and we're going to show examples of the present market and where in history is repeating. And guess what? You don't have to go very far back to find such things. This is an hourly S&P futures chart. The red line is the present market, and the blue line under it is a 208-hour cycle, 208 trading hour cycle. It comes out to be about 13.1 days. And you can see how the two patterns, the present market and 13 days ago, they're doing the same exact thing. The pink vertical lines show where the high and low corresponding points are, and you can see how many swings over the last few weeks have been repeating. And this has been happening for about a month. Take a look at the second cycle. This is 440 trading hours. It comes out 27 and a half calendar days. It also is repeating very, very accurately. Again, the pink lines, the same pink lines I had in the other chart, are repeating on this one. The highs are lining up with highs, the lows lining up with lows, the downswings lining up with downswings, the upswings lining up with upswings. Take a look at this third chart. This one is 1,068 trading hours, and it comes out to be about 66 and 2/3 days. And again, this one's been repeating for about 2 months. This is short-term stuff that's been repeating just based upon recent data. And it's repeating extremely closely. This is a day trader's delight if you could see these cycles beforehand. And by the way, we found them systematically. This is not guesswork. It's not a computer searching for them. It's not based upon some pattern recognition program. There's a systematic way of locating these things, and we find them. And we find them over and over again. Okay? And you can do it too. That's why. It's not really complicated. So, what you see going forward in the first chart and in the second chart, that's the potential future based upon the projection of 13 days ago going forward and 66 days ago going forward and 27 and a half days ago going forward. And it would be nice if you could trust that that's the actual future, that the market will actually do that. And based upon one cycle, it is hard to say that because at some point it will stop repeating. But when you have three of them, and the three of them all agree very well going backwards and very well going forwards for some period, then the projected future is much more likely. And that's what we have here. So in this final chart, you see all three of the projections, all three of the cycles, underneath the red market, which is our present market, and we see what each of them projects going forward. And at least until the 23rd of February, they all kind of work their way higher, indicating the market's likely to still wind up going up until Friday. And then they go down a couple of different ways. They're not identical, but after the 26th, between the 26th and the 29th, all three of them have a correction. And the correction could be fairly dramatic because that's what happened in the past. And this is how we forecast. We find the cycles, we look for what they do going forward, we look for more than one, we look for the agreement of where they agree, and those are the reliable points where it's likely to be a high or a low in the future. It's also true that history repeats in life. It's not just repeating in some data on a market. It's not just looking at S&P data or gold data. The events in the world have a tendency to repeat also. It's a 75-year cycle that's running right now in the world. 1948 was the beginning of Israel. It was the beginning of the war between Israel and the Arab states, and it's repeating. And there's a 19-year cycle in the middle of the 75, which is like 1/4 of 75. And that happened again in 19 years after 1948 is 1967. You have the 67 war. 1985, there was another thing going on in Israel. In 2005 is when Israel left Gaza. And then 19 years later, Israel's popping back in to Gaza for whatever trigger, The cycles repeat at various intervals in real life. And that's because there's a mathematics to life. There's an orderliness to life. History repeats because there's a mathematical structure behind it. Now, you could say that the planets, a lot of astrologers look at cycles, and they look at cycles of planets, and the planets certainly are, in a sense, causing these influences. When Jupiter and Saturn are conjunct every 20 years, there's a 20-year cycle. And when they're conjunct every 3 times of that, it's 60-year cycle, and that's also important, these synodic cycles. But even beyond the planets, it's as if the planets are working within a mathematical system that they are kind of activating. It's not as if they're causing it, they're working it out. They're creating a deeper level of mathematics. There's a profound level of intelligence running this system. The system is life. The system is the world. The system is the markets. The system is collective thinking. The system is trends in politics. The system is what happens in different countries, repeating what happened before. Even thousands of years later, the same patterns are happening. The Roman Empire, in many ways, is repeating in the present United States of America, believe it or not. We actually found a mapping of the Roman emperors lining up with the US presidents. It's a 1768-year cycle. It's fascinating. So, to recap, we're basically showing 3 different cycles that are recent. One's about 13 days, one's 27 and a half days, one's almost 67 days ago. All 3 of them are repeating, have been repeating for months. And repeating together implies that there's a good chance that that actual coherent alignment of those 3 cycles will create some closeness to the future. The forecast basically says the market goes up until the 23rd and starts to come down between the 26th and 29th of February.